How do I convince my husband that it's okay for me to go on hikes by myself on my days off of work? This past year or so has been difficult for us. My husband and I relocated from Wisconsin to Washington in December 2022 because he got a higher paying job as a federal employee. He works as a forester, and it was a transfer with a better GS rating. When we moved, I quit my part-time job as a graphic designer and have been struggling to find a new one since. To make matters worse, the government has been threatening a shutdown since May or June 2023, which has me worried about my husband being furloughed. As a result, I took up a part-time job as a security guard with terrible overnight hours on Fridays and Saturdays. Our schedules are completely mismatched. We've also experienced some personal tragedies, like a friend having a miscarriage and another friend passing away from a mysterious aggressive cancer. Recently, my husband's uncle died, and his family is now fighting over his land in Wisconsin. It's been a lot for both of us. Given the challenges we faced and the fact that I work the graveyard shift, I've been feeling cooped up and restless. My job requires me to sleep during the day, which makes me feel like I'm missing out on experiencing the beautiful mountains in our state. On January 31st, I decided to take my camera and go for a hike on the Manistash Ridge Trail. I made sure to inform my husband of my plans, but he didn't respond, so I assumed he was out of cell phone reception due to work. Worried about emergencies, I also texted one of my roller derby teammates. I took necessary precautions and carried some gear for protection, but nothing alarming happened on the hike. I had great time taking pictures and enjoying nature, which helped me escape from the negative news and stresses of daily life. However, my husband was angry with me for going on the hike without him. He initially claimed that I didn't inform anyone about my plans, but I showed him the texts I had sent. Then he expressed frustration because he wanted me to be cautious of cats, which could refer to bobcats or mountain lions. This provoked my anger because I stayed on the trail and there were other people around. I believe the chances of encountering a dangerous animal were low, but the chances of encountering an aggressive human were higher. I've been in situations before where I've been targeted by aggressive men. That's my biggest fear when I'm alone in public places, and I know many other women share the same fear. I retorted by highlighting the privilege he has as a big, strong man who doesn't have to worry about such threats. This shut down the conversation, and we went our separate ways. I let that argument go, and the following week on Tuesday night, I was looking up hiking spots again. Seeing me, my husband asked if I planned to go on another solo hike. I suggested that we could go together to a nearby hiking spot if he could come home early enough. I even mentioned being able to take cute sunset photos during the hike. He agreed, and I waited for him to get home on Wednesday for our planned hike. Unfortunately, he arrived home late and no longer wanted to go. I was upset and told him that if I had known he would be late or uninterested, I could have gone alone. He didn't like my response and asked why I even wanted to hike alone when it wasn't safe. He wanted to join me on hikes instead. I explained how our schedules didn't align, and our friends and teammates were at work when I was off. Hiking and photography became a great way for me to get out of the house and enjoy something when I felt trapped waiting for our schedules to match up. I suggested that if he wanted to come with me on the Wednesday hikes, he could work on Fridays and take Wednesdays off. However, he objected because there might be meetings and Wednesdays were days when they went out into the field to work. He wondered why I couldn't hike on Fridays instead. I clarified that I work on Friday nights, so I spend the day sleeping to avoid getting in trouble at work. It wouldn't be healthy for me to stay awake all day and night. Gradually adjusting my sleep schedule over a couple of days to be awake during the day on Wednesdays made more sense to me. I emphasized that I had no control over my work schedule, and not showing up would lead to disciplinary action in conversations with my supervisor and site manager. Overall, it feels like these conversations have gone nowhere. I understand that my husband's work schedule is inflexible, but I don't know why he discourages me from going on hikes alone. If he's concerned about my safety, I could try finding a group of people to hike with during the week, but that might be challenging as most people work traditional Monday to Friday 9-5 jobs. I can't stay at home all the time or only be awake at night when everyone else is asleep. It's taking a toll on my mental health. It sounds like you're in a tough situation with your job and your marriage, but it's important to prioritize your own well-being and happiness. Have an open discussion with your husband about the job and how it's impacting both of you. At the same time, don't let his concerns hinder you from pursuing your passions, such as hiking. Going out alone is absolutely fine, and while it's natural for people to worry about potential dangers, it's important to remember that risks exist everywhere, even in our day-to-day activities. Take the necessary precautions, such as informing someone about your plans and carrying appropriate gear to minimize any potential risks. If needed, consider joining a hiking group or finding hiking friends to enhance your safety while enjoying the great outdoors. Ultimately, taking responsibility for your own safety is crucial, and finding a balance that works for both you and your husband is key. Am I the antagonist for not including my childhood friend in my wedding party? I, a 26-year-old woman, recently got engaged to my fiancé named Dylan, who is 27 years old. We have started planning our wedding, including selecting bridesmaids and groomsmen. After thoughtful discussions, we agreed on having 4 bridesmaids and 4 groomsmen. We both prefer the idea of having an even number. It's not that having more bridesmaids than groomsmen or vice versa would look bad. We simply like the aesthetic of even numbers. My fiancé has always expressed his desire to include his 3 brothers and his childhood friend as his groomsmen, which I thought was a great idea. As we wanted to maintain equal numbers in our wedding party, I had to make some cuts. Before anyone suggests expanding the parties to accommodate everyone, we decided it made more sense to have 4 of our closest friends or family members by our side, rather than him including distant friends out of necessity. It wasn't a difficult decision for me. I immediately chose my 2 childhood friends, who have always been important to me. For my 3rd bridesmaid, I selected my younger cousin. We became particularly close after she lost her mother when I was 15 years old, and she was 11. I've always known I wanted her to be part of my big day. Choosing my 4th bridesmaid was also easy. I picked one of my best friends from college whom I still have a close relationship with. After inviting them all to be my bridesmaids, I received a call from my childhood friend, whom I'll refer to as N, questioning why I did not choose her. N and I had a rocky friendship since elementary school. Our competitive nature often led to arguments, but as we grew older, these conflicts decreased largely because I no longer cared to engage in them. However, there were still occasional backhanded comments from N, which I chose to ignore. A few years ago, I mentioned to N that I wanted her to be one of my bridesmaids. She basically responded by saying she did not want me to be one of her bridesmaids. This always stuck with me, giving me the impression that I valued our friendship more than she did. I was often the one making efforts to hang out, and our friendship felt one-sided at times. While I don't see the need to end our long-lasting friendship, I have distanced myself from N over the years. I explained to her that I love her but had to narrow down my selection to my 4 closest people. I apologized and offered her another role in the wedding if she wanted. Unfortunately, she was not happy with that and hung up on me. Later, she texted me saying she needed some time. This situation has led me to question if I am the one at fault. Am I the asshole? You have every right to move forward with a clean conscience because you did nothing wrong. It's your wedding, and you have the right to choose who you want in your wedding party. If N didn't want you to be in her wedding, then there shouldn't be any issue with you not wanting her in yours. It's her problem if she needs to make it about herself now. Am I the antagonist for telling my mother-in-law not to talk to my son? When my husband and I met, he had a 2-year-old son who we will call Tre for this story. His biological mom voluntarily gave up custody and agreed to visitation prior to me being involved. We got married approximately 7 months later and have been married for almost 14 years now. In that time frame, we've had 2 more sons and the biological mom decided to stop visitation over 11 years ago. When we started dating, I told biological mom I wasn't there to replace her, that I was there to help parent this little boy. My husband and I agreed that Trey should have the choice of what he wanted to call me, for example my name, a nickname, Mom, etc. He chose to call me Mommy, my name, and to call his biological mom Mommy, her name. It was mostly to be able to distinguish between us and predominantly called us Mommy in person. His biological mom lost it when he said it to her face. It took hours to calm her down when she was going off because I let him pick such a disrespectful name for her. He was 2 and heft. We tried to be flexible with visitation, but countless times, she was coming to get him and would cancel or bring him back within hours of picking him up for whatever reason she would come up with. It got to the point that we had to stop telling him she was coming because of the disappointment he had when she canceled. When Trey was 4-1 she decided to stop her visitations, brought all his belongings to our home, and walked away without even saying goodbye to him. I promised her I would never speak badly about her to him and have kept that promise to this day. He asks questions about her which we answer to the best of our abilities and always remind him that if he wants to have a relationship with her, we will find her. He has every right to know where he comes from. Currently, he has no interest. Once, he asked me if I hated her. The answer was easy to me. I do not agree or like the choices she's made, but I could never hate her. Hating her would be hating a part of you, and I hate no part of you. Without her, I wouldn't have you. I don't want to hate her. Hate is too heavy to carry. Somehow, this story was brought up while I was talking to my husband's mom. My in-laws and I had a rocky past because we are just simply very different people. After telling her the story about my son, she said that she would never be able to tell him that she hated his biological mom, and was utterly shocked that I didn't hate her too. After explaining my side and getting nowhere, I simply said, if you can't keep that to yourself, then don't talk to him at all. He is a kid going through a lot and doesn't need the weight of your emotions weighing him down. She was baffled and screamed, I helped raise that boy until you came into the picture. I'll say whatever I damn well please to him. For the record, my husband supports me and agrees not to speak badly about his biological mom to him. So am I the asshole for putting my foot down about this and not allowing her to speak badly of his biological mom to him? Trey is your kid and your husband, so you have every right to decide how to raise him. It's unfortunate that your mother-in-law may not listen to you though. Thank you for not hurting your son, regardless of how you feel about his bio-mother. I think it's admirable that you choose to be gracious in a situation like this, even though it may be challenging. It's possible that your mother-in-law falls into the category of people who believe you have to hate those who make choices you don't like, but that's a misguided mindset. My partner constantly makes careless mistakes, and it's getting at me. I, a 35-year-old male, have been in a relationship with my partner, a 32-year-old female, for approximately 5 years. She has a highly stressful job, which I understand. In comparison, my job is less demanding, and I work from home, so I take care of all the household chores including cooking, cleaning, and managing the finances, allowing her to solely focus on her work. I have a good income, better than my partner's, and she is very grateful for my financial contribution. She is truly a wonderful person. However, after all these years, I am starting to feel bothered by the stress caused by her frequent careless mistakes. For instance, she often falls and ends up with severe bruises while simply walking up and down the stairs. Sometimes, even during vacations, she falls and sustains significant injuries, forcing us to stay in the hotel until she recovers. On one occasion, she had a car accident while driving alone, resulting in our brand new car being completely destroyed. Thankfully, no one was injured. She also recently received a citation for running a red light. While she occasionally tries to help with household tasks, she often ends up making things worse. For example, she regularly cleans a $300 wooden cutting board with scalding hot water, causing it to crack. Additionally, she mistakenly uses rubbing alcohol to clean the dining table, damaging the coating. Financially, these incidents are not a major issue. Paying a fine for running a red light, $500. Replacing a cutting board, $300. Refinishing the dining table, I can handle that. Totaling our expensive new car, $70, was somewhat painful, but at least she and no one else was hurt, thankfully. The other driver didn't sue us despite her being fully at fault. The biggest problem for me is feeling like I always have to watch over her. I dislike this feeling, but if I'm not fully attentive when we are together, she ends up falling or causing unintentional damage to something in the house. After years of these incidents repeating, I find myself taking on all the responsibilities. It's possible I'm going crazy, but I can't even trust her to walk downstairs and throw out the trash without getting injured. I've always brushed it off, thinking it's just a car or just a piece of furniture, and yes, the traffic violation was only $500. I thought she would improve and feel remorseful about these incidents, but I also wonder when it will end. What will happen next? Will I have to constantly take care of her for the rest of our lives? Can I handle that? I'm unsure. On the other hand, by handling everything myself, I'm not giving her the chance to learn from these mistakes, which may result in her becoming less capable and my frustration increasing. Unfortunately, I'm not sure what the best approach is in this situation. I have mainly focused on the negative aspects, but it's important to note that she is an incredible individual, and I love her deeply. She feels deeply remorseful about the accident and other careless errors she has made. However, after all these years, I'm uncertain if I can continue dealing with this situation. Can anyone relate to my frustration? Do you think this problem will worsen over time, or am I overthinking things? In summary, my partner consistently makes careless mistakes, such as car accidents, traffic violations, and unintentional damage to property, which is starting to affect me. I'm unsure if this issue will escalate or if I'm overanalyzing the situation. It sounds like your partner could benefit from seeking medical evaluation for multiple potential issues. It might be helpful for her to see an occupational therapist who can provide strategies and techniques to improve focus and multitasking abilities. My friend invites me to his place to micromanage my every move. My friend recently moved into a studio apartment and invited me over to have pizza and watch a movie. When I got there, he didn't have much furniture yet, just a bed and a TV. He asked me to change my clothes and shower, even though I had just finished working a 12-hour shift. He gave me some new clothes and insisted I wear them, which annoyed me a bit, but I complied and took a shower. When I came out, I sat on the bed and opened a drink because I hadn't eaten all day. Unfortunately, the second drink I opened started spewing, and I accidentally got a few drops on the blanket. I apologized and offered to wash and dry it, but my friend got really annoyed with me, saying I should have known to open drinks over the trash can. He then went outside for a cigarette break, and I innocently opened his blinds to check out the view. When he saw this, he got angry and told me never to open the blinds because everyone would be able to see inside. We eventually settled down to watch the movie, and I opened a plastic container of cookies, eating one and placing the rest on the bed. My friend immediately turned off the movie, stood up, and became outraged about the cookie. He demanded that I pick it up and swiped at the crumbs on the bed. All of this wouldn't have been an issue if my friend was consistently clean himself. However, there have been times when I visited and he had spilled bacon all over the floor but didn't bother picking it up. Trash would also be scattered around his apartment depending on his mood. In one instance, he was sitting amidst the trash in his kitchen. However, when I visited the next day, everything was miraculously clean, but then he got upset over me simply opening the blinds. I'm unsure how to navigate spending time with this friend, as I often feel micromanaged at his place and end up not feeling great. I don't know how to address these issues with him. Am I being unrealistic in my expectations? In summary, my friend constantly scolds me over trivial matters in his house, and it's starting to irritate me. I'm unsure if my feelings are valid. What do you think? Wow, this guy sounds absolutely unbearable. It's clear that he lacks basic empathy and consideration for others, not to mention any self-awareness. Demanding total compliance and insulting you in the process? No thanks. You shouldn't waste any more time with someone like that. I totally understand the feeling of loneliness and the desire to hold on to any semblance of a social life, even if it means putting up with toxic people. But trust me, it's not worth it. I once held on tightly to a few toxic friends out of desperation, and it was a disaster. Once I cut them off and started making new, kind, and good friends, I realized how much better life could be. So please, don't let loneliness dictate keeping people like this in your life. You deserve so much better than that. It may take time and effort, but slowly making new friends who genuinely care about you is worth it. You deserve a social circle filled with kindness and empathy, not a crack den filled with filth and disrespect. Would I be the antagonist for wearing a black dress at my wedding? I want to start by saying that I don't have a good relationship with my family. My mother has a narcissistic personality, and my father is an enabler. I have cut off contact with them. However, there is one person in my family whom I care about, my grandmother from my mom's side. I am her first grandchild, and I lived next to her during my childhood, so we were very close. Now, here's the story. My future husband, 29 years old, and I, 26 years old, are unconventional. We could be considered goth punk. I mostly wear black, while my husband has a red punk mohawk. We both have piercings and tattoos, and we have pet rats. As a result, we don't want a traditional, fancy wedding, and I want to wear a black wedding dress. We are planning a small wedding with only close family and friends, which means only my grandma from my side of the family. If anyone causes a scene, it will be quite apparent. I gave the invitation to my grandma, and she was thrilled. We discussed wedding preparations, and the topic of the dress came up. I showed her the styles I liked, all of which were black. Her expression changed immediately. She told me she could never attend a wedding where the bride wears black because she finds it disrespectful. She also mentioned that she wanted to contribute financially to the wedding, but if I wear black, she won't. I simply told her that it's fine if she doesn't want to attend, and I don't need her financial help. Our wedding is small, and we have planned it within our means. Now, I am receiving phone calls and angry messages from various family members saying things like, "How can you deny your grandma the opportunity to witness her first granddaughter's wedding? And it was your grandma's dream to see you walk down the aisle in a white wedding dress, and couldn't you just wear a traditional wedding dress?" I tried talking to my grandma about this. She has seen me exclusively wear black since my teenage years. She knows my fashion preferences. She likes my punk fiancé, and she has been to our house multiple times, always seeming accepting of our style. I don't understand how she expected me to wear white on my wedding day. However, she remains adamant. If I wear a black dress, she won't come and she will never forgive me. I want her to be there, and I could potentially compromise by wearing a white dress or even a light gray dress. After all, it's not about what you wear, but whom you are marrying. However, my dress is the one thing I don't want to compromise on. Now I am questioning whether I would be in the wrong if I still choose to wear black on my wedding day. I absolutely cannot comprehend why people feel entitled to dictate how a bride or groom should get married. Unless someone is financially contributing, they should have no say in your attire choice. And the fact that your grandma is threatening to never forgive you is ridiculous. It's sad that she is making such a trivial issue a reason to sever your relationship, especially considering your close bond. Ultimately, you should let your family know that if your grandma prioritizes her dress preferences over being present at your wedding, then it's evident that she doesn't genuinely care about you as much as she claims. This day is about you and your fiancé, not about her. She can either put her ego aside and be happy to share this joyous occasion with you, or live with the regret of missing out due to a dye on a dress. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.